So this is political. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it nice and short. Cats, as it were. Okay. Here we have Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Um, very, very spastic messages came from Trump in regarding a ceasefire. The ceasefire that he talked about was one of the weirdest ceasefires I've ever heard of. I don't think there's ever been a ceasefire like this in the history of mankind. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure some military spurg knows that this is not true because, the world's a big place. Lots of weird shits happen. But the ceasefire that he brokered between Iran and Israel was unilateral, but and had different terms. He told Israel they had 12 more hours after midnight to keep bombing Iran, and Iran had to stop retaliating against Israel. So it's a one-way ceasefire kind of imposed upon them. And I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a ceasefire that lets one side continue to lob bombs while the other did not. So the United States flew over with the B-52, the big, scary, pixelated looking jets, and they dropped 10,000-pound bombs to destroy Iran's nuclear program. Iran said there was no damage. The CIA says that there was actually catastrophic damage. And then Donald Trump said, look, mission accomplished here. Stop fighting. Actually, Israel can keep fighting 12 hours more because it's Israel, bro. Come on. It's Israel. You got to let them bomb you a little bit more. They gotta get the better deal. Otherwise, they're not going to accept nothing. So apparently they agreed to this, and it happened so quickly. There was actually mass confusion on if Trump was just lying. And in fact, based on the timeline, it's entirely possible that Trump announced the ceasefire on his Truth Social or whatever, and then neither Israel nor Iran knew it was even happening. He just said it. I know this is I'm making this up. Maybe he did debate it, but in my head, he literally just went on Twitter or whatever and said, "Look, this ceasefire, it's happening at midnight, and Iran and Israel gets an extra 12 hours to bomb Iran." And both parties are like, "What the fuck?" I guess we got to do it. It's Trump. What are we going to do? So they both just agreed to it after the fact. Everyone was extremely confused for several hours trying to figure out if Trump was lying or not. And then Iran declared victory. Israel and the United States declared victory. Everyone's very happy, except Trump, actually, because when Trump said you have 12 more hours to bomb Iran, Israel was like, oh boy, Goyam, 12 hours where we get to punch and we can't get punched back? This is the greatest deal in the history of deals, maybe ever. So they just started bombing the fuck out of Iran immediately. And it was expected that, there's like a level of bombing, and then the bombing would taper off over 12 hours. But Israel, when they got word that they could bomb with impunity, they just went crazy, right? So this was Donald Trump's reaction to hearing that Israel had just opened like a huge volley of missiles against Iran, when the expectation was that they'd be coming the fuck down. Oh, and there was like one little bomb that went off in Israel after the ceasefire was supposed to take effect, and it was widely believed that this was either a false flag by Israel, or it was like Hezbollah or some other agitator trying to break the ceasefire and continuing the fighting. But it was just one little bomb, and then Israel went crazy with all of its bombs. So this is what Trump's angry about.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
It's just such a perfect incantation of fuck. Not many people can land fuck like that. And even the people that can, they can't do it all the time. You have to be actually really pissed off to say it like that. One more time. I like the entire part where he stops talking the first time. And then the press starts like yelling at him, right? and he's not looking at the press. All this noise is coming from the press. He's like staring off into the distance. He's staring out over the Potomac or whatever, and he's like, man, I fucking hate Israel. That's the face of a man looking at the beautiful Potomac and thinking, I fucking hate Israel.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
And he's not even responding to anything anybody asks. He's just telling them. He's like, I'm so fucking angry about this. And when I saw this, I put this on Twitter. And by the way, banger, 1.5 million, almost 3,000 likes. Let me shrink this so you can see it with the hamster on. But it says, this was an interview with Gates. If I remember correctly, this guy was the Secretary of State for like 4 different presidents. Like, I can't remember what his exact role was, but he was being interviewed for a official record of the White House, and it was the oral history of George H.W. Bush, so the first Bush in the 90s. And I've never heard of this before, but apparently the White House historians, sometime after a president's out of office, will try to interview orally as many people associated with the administration as possible so that it can all be documented for the Library of Congress. And we have this wonderful historical record of the presidents, including memoirs of living people who may not write books about their experiences. And in this instance, Brands, who is the historian, asked Gates, was there anyone that George H.W. Bush actively disliked? And Gates replies to him and says, Shamir. Shamir was the president of Israel at the time that George H.W. Bush, or the prime minister of Israel at the time H.W. Bush was the president of the United States. And he says this, Shamir, but I will say this, every president I worked for at some point in his presidency would get so pissed off at the Israelis that he couldn't speak. It didn't matter if it was Jimmy Carter or Jerry Ford or Ronald Reagan or George H.W. Bush. Something would happen and they would just absolutely go screw themselves right into the ceiling. They were so angry. And they just sort of rant and rave around the Oval Office. I think it was their frustration knowing that there was so little they could do about it because of domestic politics and everything else. That was so frustrating to them. But he did not, I think, care very much for Shamir. I'm trying to think about others, but I can't think of any others. So this guy, who is one of the closest people to H.W. Bush, is asked the question, who doesn't he like? And he goes off on this lovely tangent about how every president that has ever served the United States since JFK, probably, maybe even before, would just think about Israel and something that they were doing at the time and get so angry. And they just know because of the Congress and because of apex control over the Congress, there's nothing they can do about it. Other famous instances of this include, by the way, Israel stealing enriched uranium from the United States. In fact, the company that we paid to enrich uranium was founded by the Mossad, and the owner of it was a Zionist Jew, and he exfiltrated enriched uranium to Israel so that they could make a nuclear bomb. In fact, it's believed they have access to a hydrogen bomb because they detonated the bomb off the coast of South Africa one time. And we couldn't stop them. We couldn't stop Israel from making a fake uranium enrichment company and exfiltrating uranium to Israel and detonating hydrogen bombs off the coast of South Africa. We just couldn't stop them. That's a conspiracy? I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think there's even reports from the CIA where they talk about how this happened and how they let it happen, basically. So there's that. There's the time that, by the way, this woman, let me just show you this. This woman was the prime minister of Israel for a long time. Let's see, I think her name is Goldman. God damn it, what's her name? Female PM of Israel. I thought it was Miriam Goldman, but it's not. Golda Meir, sorry, Golda Meir. This woman was PM of Israel for a long ass time. Look at her, man. Is that not the most evil looking woman you've ever fucking seen in your entire life? That's like shocking. It's unbelievable that she's a real person, that she was like the actual leader of Israel. It's like if you were going to create like a caricature of an evil Israeli woman and make her like the leader of Israel, like, that's exactly what you would come up with. That's Golda Meir. And I think she was responsible for overseeing the invasion of Egypt and conquering the Sinai Peninsula. And I like they don't teach this in history class, but Israel, like when they invaded Egypt and took over the Sinai Peninsula, they held that shit for like 10 years. And some of the other presidents, they were frustrated because they kept trying to talk Israel into giving back the Sinai to Egypt because Egypt was like not necessarily a hostile entity that they wanted to piss off, and they just couldn't do it. It took them 10 years to negotiate handing back the Sinai to Egypt, and during the entire time they were like settling the area with Israeli settlers. So it's like in every presidency there was an instance where Israel would do something that jeopardized peace, put the Americans at risk, damaged the American international reputation, conquered land, stole uranium, bombed Iran, just like constantly. They just every fucking presidency they do something, and it's just like, and we can't do anything about it because we got Ted Cruz in Congress and he's getting paid, and that's all that fucking matters. It's just crazy. Maybe one day something will change, chat. Knowing that one day things may change, it fills you with determination.
Thank you for watching this clip by Colonel J. This is the King of Bull here. Remember to like and subscribe. Juice!